Okay, so whose fault is it when I have a microphone and it's on, and you also have a microphone in front of you, and there's a button you can press to activate it, and it's not on?
Because I thought I had pressed it, thank you.
After you said, turn it on the cardioid setting, and then I pressed a button because I know what that means, and you're like, oh, I guess you know what that means. You are coming at me today, 6 ibuprofen deep, caffeinated, partially, with a headache, and ready for blood. Ache. And a stomach ache. And other aches.
Body aches.
Body aches.
I'm becoming an old crotchety woman. I'm just embracing it now.
I was going to say, you can't become what you are.
Okay, fine. I'm realizing and embracing it. How's that?
I also want to point out, you adjusted the blinds in the living room, and you said, see, look what I did for you.
Because I want some appreciation. I don't get enough appreciation in this house.
Plenty of appreciation. And I also want to point out that I said while we're sitting at the mics, we'll come up with something to talk about because it's been, almost a week since we have some episodes in the can. We're slowly releasing them. But it's been almost a week since we've recorded a new episode. And I said, well, yeah, come up with something to talk about. And you said, we still have nothing to talk about. And I got no appreciation for getting the microphone set up so fast.
That was fast.
There were no hiccups. There were no hijinks. There was no disconnecting, reconnecting. We run a tight ship around here.
I was going to make a bad joke, but never mind.
We have to talk about our sponsors.
Happy Dad?
Yes.
We bought a case of Happy Dad like 4 days ago. Now it's gone.
It's not gone.
No, it is gone.
I thought there were still a few in the fridge. Where did they go? Last night there were still a few in the fridge.
No.
And I didn't see you drinking
last night there was one in the fridge and I finished it.
I thought there was like 4. Okay.
You thought there were 4, first of all. Second of all, no, there was one left as of yesterday, and I finished it yesterday before we went to karaoke. Which is probably a bad idea because then I had more vodka when we went to the bar.
So I want to clarify, our sponsor, Happy Dad, please.
We're gonna get sued
for what? For what? Disparagement?
We're not sponsoring this shit.
It doesn't matter. We're sponsoring them. We buy their shit, and it's not shit. It's delicious, crisp alpine water with electrolytes in seltzer form with 4 delicious flavors: lemon lime.
5 delicious flavors.
5?
Yes, 4 come in the variety pack. The other flavor, they sell it as a whole pack by itself.
What flavor is that?
Fruit punch.
This whole time we could have been drinking fruit punch and we keep getting the variety pack?
Because I like the variety pack.
Well, there's lemon lime, there's cherry, there's
pineapple,
and then what's
watermelon.
The first one? And watermelon, which I think is the best. Because you don't really get many watermelon seltzers. And I have to say, now this is not a sponsored post, Truly seltzers taste like battery acid. And if you want to, they say 70% of people who drink Truly seltzers are missing their back teeth because of the consuming Truly seltzers. So that's an anti-endorsement is what that's called. But the pro-endorsement is for Happy Dad with vitamins, minerals, electrolytes, and everything a kid needs to develop strong, healthy bones. Or someone with osteoporosis. Or someone with osteoporosis to protect them from further bone density loss. Is Happy Dad.
There's no calcium in Happy Dad.
That's what it says on the label. It says for all ages. There's glucosamine, there's chondroitin. Okay. For all ages, like it's like Monopoly, like 5 to 99.
Now you're just pulling shit out of your ass as always.
That's all I do. Every day. That's my sole purpose.
You want to tell them about the terrible, terrible, terrible joke that you've made 3 times now as we pass Glidewell.
No, I've only made it 2 times. I'm about to make it 3 times. So there's some laboratory called Glidewell, and I don't know what they make, nuclear weapons, something. And it's in Irvine. And so every time we pass it, because it's called Glidewell, I'm like, that's where they make the lube. And it keeps getting no response to just like upset shuffling every time I mention it. In fact, the jokes I tell, it's about like the jokes I tell on this podcast where you just, barrel through them and over them as if I didn't even say them. And some of which are actually good. It just gets like like really loud crickets in the background. Like crickets on a summer's night in Georgia. Cicadas. It gets cicadas as a response. It gets locusts. It just destroys everything in its path. Anything good and wholesome is just destroyed in its path because you
made that joke.
Because you people do not respond well to good humor. And by you people, I mean Puerto Ricans.
Neither of the two people that you've told that joke to are Puerto Rican, so I don't know.
I know. I've offended the Puerto Rican community many times in the past. I don't know why.
You're going to turn into West Side Story in this bitch.
I'm going to dress up as Rita Moreno in a truly upsetting Halloween costume. No, I love Puerto Ricans. I love any ethnicity, and this is swinging back to a news article. I love any ethnicity that embraces the fact that they're a little bit unhinged. Greeks, Italians, Puerto Ricans and Dominicans, some Mexicans, obviously Armenians, Persians. Like
You're just going to list all the nationalities?
No. I'm listing a group of people that are. You don't consider Swedes to be unhinged. It's not part of the thing. You don't consider Chinese to be unhinged.
I think Greta Thunberg's pretty unhinged myself.
That's the autism.
She doesn't have autism. She has Asperger's.
It's a variety of autism. Isn't it a flavor of autism?
A flavor.
Whichever thing you have, she has. So I think that any ethnicity where part of, like, if you ask 3 things to define themselves and one of the words they use is crazy, I love those people immediately. Mostly because I'm comprised of all of those. Like, every ethnicity I'm comprised of is, they would define themselves as crazy. And because I think they're a lot more fun. Especially after a few drinks. You honky cracker motherfuckers, and I'm pointing directly at you, don't get to define. I mean, you don't consider English people to be unhinged, except, maybe if they're footballers. But other than that, it's just not part of the character.
See, but that's where you're wrong.
I'm never wrong.
English people, and we know some that will probably agree with the sentence I'm about to say, wasps, if you will. We are unhinged. We just hide it.
See, I don't trust that.
We sweep it under the rug and we smile and act like everything is fine when in the background things are chaotically burning.
That rug is like the height of the mattresses in The Princess and the Pea. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't sweep something under a rug when a rug is 7 feet up. I just trust the people who do.
We see the polka dot elephant in the room and we say, what are you talking about?
That's insane. I think that an ethnicity that treats a children's first or second birthday party, where the child will not remember the event, as an opportunity to drink as much as possible, is one I want to hang out with. Like, if you ever go to a first birthday party for a Mexican child, there will be 3 fights, there's an ant hitting a piñata, more tequila consumed than any Cinco de Mayo festival, and it's fun as shit.
This sounds vaguely racist.
Mexican isn't a race, it's a way of life. For me and millions of other people. How dare you?
I thought you were going to say Mexican isn't a race, it's a disorder.
No.
That would be racist.
No, autism is, and so is being Swedish. It's like it's an affect. So I say this because it seems like I'm going to back up 2 more steps.
Oh, God.
Shut up. It seems like ethnic humor is only acceptable involving certain ethnicities. And it used to be any ethnicity, and then it got reduced to some ethnicities, and then it got reduced to only considered to be white ethnicities. And now I think the only jokes you can make are like Irish and Italian. I think those are the only 2 that you can really get away with. You can't even make Jew jokes anymore, which sucks because that's like, you can't make Polak jokes. When's the last time you heard a good Polak joke?
We vaguely talked about this on a previous episode.
Which is why I want to bring it up again, because I feel like the goalpost has moved even further to where you can make a drunken Irish joke, you can make a mafia Italian joke, and that's it. There's no like. Very rarely. I mean, look, the Italian American community got upset about The Sopranos, and they were like, "We're not all mobsters," and it was the nieces and nephews of actual mobsters who said that. But it's fascinating to me that a large portion of the American character of living in a multicultural society, of being able to make fun of everyone, has been removed, and at a time where tensions between ethnicities, races, everything like that, seem to be increasing. It's the pressure valve that allows people to sublimate their feelings about actual things, because at the end of the day, you realize we're all flawed.
I am not.
Well, you just sneezed at my plant so aggressively before this broadcast that it actually it moved. I watched it get up and move out of the window. No, think about that though. Peak calmness in this country, peak racial calmness, was when My Big Fat Greek Wedding came out. Because everyone but you could have declared racism was over when My Big Fat Greek Wedding came out, because black families loved it, Mediterranean families loved it, Muslim families loved it, white families loved it, Italians, Greeks, everybody loved it. Asian families saw it and loved it. Hispanic families saw it and loved it. It was the one universal thing of this crazy overbearing family, and yet, this movie came out describing one very specific ethnicity, religion, heritage. But the themes were universal, of like the doddering dad, the overprotective mom, the girl who they tried to marry off. I mean, any Indian family, any Asian family, you hear this story 1,000 times. And so I think that since then, with this, you have to use these terms, you can't describe people like this way, you can't make these jokes, you can't make these references. It's become a situation of, well, now people feel uncomfortable saying those things. They keep them to themselves. And I don't think that we're better off. I feel like we're a lot worse off as a result. You need that pressure valve of humor for society. And that's where I feel like a lot of things fall short.
Okay. So what are you going to do about it?
Make more ethnic jokes.
You personally.
Yes, I will.
And that's going to save the world.
It's a start. Well, okay. I want to.
Can I not be around when you do this in public? Because I don't want to.
No, you're contractually obligated.
I don't want things to be thrown at me. Other than what you already throw at me, asshole.
I told you to put those tomatoes in the sauce. I think this stems from this morning. I was on Twitter, and I got down. A friend of ours sent me a tweet of some like ridiculous, like, one of those people who writes trigger warning at the beginning of a conversation, and basically
we should put trigger warnings at the beginning of all of our shows.
I have to on YouTube. I have to say this is not made for kids.
That's not a trigger.
Well, so someone doesn't put on Baby Shark, and then you hear us just being like cut in the middle of your living room. Like, that'd be great. Well, the kids would learn a lot more than some stupid ass song. I'll tell you that. They should teach kids ethnic jokes. I've just realized.
Oh my god!
But no, they sent me this tweet about. It was some ridiculous.
You have a non-binary friend that sent you a tweet?
Well, I was going to say I don't want to reveal the gender of the person who sent me this, but it was Christian. So.
Well, then, yeah, it was a they.
It was a they. No, I have to read it because it was so ridiculous. So, you want to talk about ethnicities? Okay.
They have learned not to send me things anymore because I don't respond.
So Cuba yesterday voted to allow gay marriage. Big fucking whoop. I love how like every other country has it, and Cuba was like the last holdout. And so someone who is a hashtag class war not cold war in their bio person from bumfuck Oregon. The guy has a red beret on in his picture, and he looks vaguely like if Weird Al Yankovic.
Oh my god!
He looks like if Weird Al Yankovic had an uncle that was arrested for touching kids. And so The eclectic radical says, Cuba has redefined the family as people who love and take care of each other. This is a huge deal, as no other country in the world has ever done this. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, because all that happened in Cuba was that they belatedly passed a gay marriage allowance. So that's it. Cuba allows gay marriage. Okay. Now, by the way, as an ethnicity, I'm going to add a little caveat here. Cubans historically have a culture where they're not always the biggest fan of gay people. It's a very machismo culture. And so that's why a lot of the Cubans in Miami, there's a section that are very traditional and there's a section that are aggressively gay. And there's nothing in between. So that's just as a thing. So that's why them passing gay marriage, it's like, well, Cubans have been able to gay marry 90 miles off of Cuba's coast for the past, 10 years. So anyway, Cuba has redefined the family as people who love and take care of each other. This is a huge deal, as no country in the world has ever done this. So that's, obviously ridiculous. And so someone responded to this who's called the Paz Gecko, whose bio I have to read to you says, "We're all fucked. Medically strange," and then in parentheses, NCAH, hashies, EBV, JHS/HSD, zebra. Now, I know what some of those terms mean.
I know what none of those letters mean.
That means that they say that they have Hashimoto disease.
Which is
a very rare condition that a lot of people self-diagnose as something that they have to get medical sympathy. EBV, they're saying they have Epstein-Barr virus, which has nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein, but it was an idea of I think it's like Lyme disease where you get bit by a mosquito and I have Epstein-Barr. Then they're saying they have JHS/HSD, zebra, and zebras are a community of people who identify as having a medical condition that cannot be classified. This young girl, in fact, there was this big story about this young girl who was part of this zebra community, and they encourage you to go and get multiple diagnoses from doctors to pretend like you have this rare condition and you're just getting constantly misdiagnosed. So it's almost like an addiction to getting medical treatment that's not serving you.
It's called hypochondriac.
Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So it's a really bizarre. So this person who responds already says that they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 medical conditions. Anatolian/Irish ancestry, which, okay. They/them trans-mask, and then at the end, communist.
Oh.
So they really
that was not even necessary because we already knew that. We already knew that.
So it's like a select all. So their response to Cuba has redefined the family. They said, my family, and I think they is the appropriate thing to say. I don't know. Though, yeah, they, them, trans-mask. So them said, my family is 6 people. Some of us are blood-related or in relationships. But we're all together because we're young adults whose parents are either dead, can't be in our lives, or have chosen to not have us. It's nice to be recognized as a family somewhere. Second tweet. We eat together, we share all household expenses, we take care of each other. We buy each other little gifts and do special things for each other. We are a family, and the U.S. housing laws often restrict us from being able to legally live together. Now, I want to asterisk here. I don't know of any jurisdiction in the United States that says that people cannot freely live under one roof together.
Right.
Nothing.
There might be housing, quote unquote, discrimination where a landlord might not want to, lease to you, but there's no law, as this person said, housing laws
right.
keep us from living together. There's no law that would
Right.
keep you from living together.
And the only other thing I can think of is a cooperative agreement or something where only a certain number of people are allowed to operate to live in a unit at a certain time. But that's
Yeah.
the same thing. It's just number of people. You can have 10 people renting one apartment.
Right.
Unless you're Puerto Rican. So it says someone who is a fellow, rainbow person said, "Wait, what? What's the difference to having roommates? I didn't know you couldn't choose with whom you want to live." And so this person says, "At least in Arizona where I live, quite a few towns have rules restricting households that are more than 3 adults that are not immediate family." So that's complete horseshit. There is no such thing as a town. No town is going to come knocking on your door and be like, "Excuse me, 4 people under this roof. It's only supposed to be 3. I have never heard that. It does not exist. And they're making up another cause, like they make up diseases about themselves. And so this sent me down a rabbit hole because
We've already gone down a rabbit hole.
we're gonna go even deeper.
No.
We're gonna hit China. Oh. Another person who was suggested out of this group is a, typical looking white dude wearing a Turkish or Moroccan fez, whose recent tweet says, "It's democracy, fam. She's a literal fascist. No democracy should support that." Talking about Giorgia Meloni in Italy.
Right.
So, okay. People vote for somebody to change their country. It's fascism. Then 3 others suggested follows. Number 1, 27 years, nerd, communist, land back. Number 2, 22-year-old, disabled, gender fluid, he, him, they, them, Zer. And then another person who says minors are not invited, anti-fascist, it, them, their Cash App, if you can help a disabled comrade. Their pinned tweet says, "Okay, this is getting desperate. I have nothing left. I'm 400 more in the hole next month and still haven't had a need met and can't get to urgent doctor's appointments. I'm going to die, literally. I need help somehow. I have important appointments this week and no transportation. Here's my Cash App." Another person, "We're providing kits from North American Rescue, an IFAK fund. It includes permanent markers, wound packing, tourniquets, survival blankets, and they're not for people who are in an emergency. They're for people who are rioters. So they can pack these kits to take with them, so if the Portland police throw something at them, they can heal up." And then the last one is Throatgoat215, he/they, non-binary hoe, DM me for NSFW content, fuck racism, fat phobia, swerfs, and transphobia. So I just wanted to illustrate this because these people exist on the internet. I don't think as much in real life. I feel like if one of these people you see in real life, I mean, it'd be like that woman at Walmart that just started screaming in the self-checkout aisle on Twitter a couple days ago. But these people do exist. And these people are who society and culture currently caters to. And as much as they want to claim victim and, medical things and everything like this is whose feelings are being protected the most. And these are the people who will hit you for making a joke that is related to an ethnicity, even if it's your own, who will police your language and your thought, your ability to work, the places that you want to live, through gentrification and everything like that. "Oh, you can't live here." And their number one goal is power and control. They're the one making it bad for people who are real trying to come out here and work. And it's fascinating to me because I think that a group like this could only exist on the internet. Because in real life, you actually have to interact with people from different ethnicities and different cultures. People have their different biases. People make different jokes, and they have different commonalities that come together. Like, you look at people who work in New York City. You interact with all kinds of people every day, all day. Same thing in Los Angeles. But on the internet, you get to choose a very niche community you can be a part of, live entirely within that community, and get to shame people who live in gated communities, suburbs, areas where they prefer to be all day long, and yet you get to live in this gated mindset. And I think that that's where culturally the big problem is. The people who want to police language, the people who consider you and I to be thought criminals, and anybody else listening to this, are the people who self-segregate when it comes to thought, expression, everything like this. They're the first to use the label fascist at any opportunity, or far right, to describe to anyone that does not disagree with them. They demand to be heard over medical things that are both valid and invalid. They demand that you change your language when you approach them. And they demand that you talk within a very specific gated wall of topics and subjects, some of which they don't even think that your qualifications or background allow you to talk about. You know, how many times have you seen on Twitter where it's something like, unless you are a scientist, you're not allowed to talk about this. Unless you are, insert useless credential here, you're not allowed to talk. Unless you are a person of color / Ghanaian, you're not allowed to talk about this. I know that I just raised a lot of topics at once, but I wanted to draw a through line from being able to make a joke and people getting along to now people are not getting along and they're not allowed to make jokes because of people like this.
Right. So my question is, I have two questions. Can we start implementing forced sterilizations? I mean, I guess they're kind of already sterilizing themselves by acting like that. But,
right.
For good measure, let's just rip it out anyway. And then secondly, why couldn't NASA have just let that, big thing that they blew up come kill us all?
Leave the asteroid alone.
Just let it end us, please, because the rapture is clearly not coming. I've prayed for it. It's not coming.
Yeah, you're still here.
Wipe us out already. This is I'm sick of this shit, as Megan McGlover would say.
Well, for a long period of time, with strong families and communities, it seems like these people would at least feel a sense of belonging. Because I feel like part of it is crying out for a sense of belonging. So you create a complete parasocial thing. In absence of that, I can understand wanting to belong to a community of these literal crazy people.
That is the mental illness within them, because they're trying to say, oh look, I'm a victim in this way and this way and this way and this way, and I'm different from you because I'm this and I'm this and I'm this. I have all of these medical ailments. They are so desperately trying to pin themselves into this corner of being a ridiculous individual,
right?
And more victimized than you,
right?
So you can feel sorry for them,
right?
So and then yes, they're vying for some type of community. So it's like, I'm going to invent all of these problems with me to segregate me from a community,
right,
and say, no, I'm not like you, and then say, why can't I find people like me? This is mental illness. This is what this is.
Well, okay, yes. Let's dig deeper into that. So
which, by the way, I'm sorry, just to add, these people who claim to be communist and to want to be part of the collective, right? Collectivism, who hate individualism, wildly they try to become as individualistic as possible and be as victimized as possible.
Now that's interesting. Okay, I want to get back to a previous point, but that's interesting because you would think individualism is the highest form of self-expression. And these people express themselves through their diseases. They express themselves through their gender definitions, through their sexualities, through all of this. So the hyper-individual screams for the collective.
Right. That's mental illness.
Right. And so that is interesting, too, because what I was saying was, well, if these people had a family and community that cared about them, then this wouldn't be the case. But what you're saying is that they probably already do, and they have rejected whatever that family and community was, whatever parents or non-parents or whatever adults in their life. Not everybody can come, unless, because of the single mom rate and other things like that, there are so many dysfunctional family units now that you're pumping out these as a result, which is possible.
But
some of these people probably did come from good families. I mean, I don't know.
right. No, you're absolutely right. They probably did. So the question is, what happened to these? What happened to the people that made them this way? Was it their education?
Right.
Was it some event in their life? I don't know.
Well, a percentage of it, I think, will always be people see a trend and want to cotton to it. So a percentage of which come from good families are probably like, oh, whatever, my family doesn't care about you, even though they probably already do. And I'm going to join this group because this is a lot more exciting. In the same way where they've shown that, like, if one child comes out as non-binary in the classroom, just on average, there will be 3 others that follow. Just
right,
average.
But as we've become a society that is just, we look for ways to out-victimize someone else.
Because victimization equals power.
Right. Well, right now it does, yes. We look for ways, and I say we, you and I don't.
I do.
But people look for ways to claim to be victims. You notice that all of these people who have, all those people you just described, all those people who have these medical issues, right? That they make that their label of how they're a victim.
Right.
All of these people who are non-binary, and that's their victimhood.
Right.
All of these people who are, most of the trans people, right? They're all white.
It's a very white phenomenon, yes.
Because the people of color, they have their victimhood label and they can run behind it.
I think they also smell out the bullshit. I think that...
Well, no, they probably do too. But
Right.
but to get to the point of having your victim label,
Yeah.
a regular straight-ish white person who's so desperate to be a victim looks for ways to be a victim, so they make up diseases. They say, oh, I'm trans, oh, I'm non-binary. They just pull shit out of their ass to be like, I'm different, see, look at me, I'm different.
Right.
It's all white people.
I had to like step and think about that for a second, because so if everyone is a victim except for white people have to create a victim class to be considered or to be accepted among the association of victims, the AOV.
To have some type of power,
Right.
yes.
So then by that logic, it's almost like when people apply for college applications, and it's like, if you don't come from a poor family or you don't come from a disadvantaged family, you have to create some other thing. Like, I volunteered at the food bank even though I didn't, or, whatever these kids do to say, like I pushed someone with a wheelchair up the stairs. Some fucking bullshit. I don't know. Or they have to come up with some medical condition, which I've seen and heard about in a lot of these college applications. These people will be like, well, I suffer from... And no one's going to ever ask for a doctor's note, so they could just be like, I suffer from dyslexia. But dyslexia doesn't work anymore. That used to be a really easy go-to. Or I suffer from ADHD. That was another easy one because everybody allegedly had ADHD at a certain point. We're all attention deficit, by the way. If you have a little screen with light in front of you that beeps every 5 fucking seconds and you spend your entire day looking at, everyone's going to develop ADHD at one point or another. Everyone. So that's a bullshit one. So now people are having to come up with exclusive disabilities. And by the way, majority white.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the college admission system, and it's weighted in favor of people of certain backgrounds, then of course you have to come up with something. It's like, would you rather bring in the first generation college student from Guatemala or the white girl who some days can barely walk? Other days she's fine. Some days can barely walk.
Transabled, right? We've mentioned that in passing, but if that becomes like a real thing, which, oh God help us, that it's just another way to it's these people looking for ways to be victims. It's these people's way of looking for some type of pity and or power.
What happens to people who are actually in wheelchairs with all of this situation? Because it just seems like...
We look at them and say, are you making it up?
Well, no, it's so funny because the handicap parking system, because especially in California, it's rampant. But in other states, maybe not so much. But the handicap parking system in California used to be you get the plates or you get the pass if you are, permanently, veteran in a wheelchair, like, someone who doesn't have use of their legs or arms, which, by the way, if you're driving still, that's a little bit concerning, but okay. It used to be a special system for older people to get closer to the grocery store, and so they're not having to walk across a parking lot or wheel across a parking lot to get there. Okay, fine, wonderful. But now they give out handicap parking passes if you have a knee replacement, which, yeah, you might be down for a couple weeks, but you're still fine. You'll be able to walk again.
Right, but I mean, to be fair, they might give them those for like 2 months and then it expires.
No, the temporary placards now I think even go for at least a full year. I don't think there's a 2 or 3 month one anymore.
Okay, that's stupid.
That's gone. Which is why
that's only California then, because I've seen like in New Mexico,
there's a special kind.
My friend was in a car accident, had to have back surgery, and she was given a placard for about 3 months.
Right. So then it became people who would temporarily have it because of surgery. Now, pretty much anything can qualify you for a handicap parking pass.
I have really bad hemorrhoids. I need a
exactly.
I need a handicap.
I need a handicap parking pass. I need a body pillow curled up into a donut underneath me. Which, by the way, I just have to mention this happened because you got not just the special privilege of parking closer to the store, but also handicap parking passes allow you to park at a meter and never have to pay for it, to park in a street restricted zone or a neighborhood restricted zone and never have to pay for it. Everything up
to not have to move your car on street cleaning day.
Exactly. The only thing a handicap parking pass does not get you out of is parking at a red curb or in front of a fire hydrant or something like that. But anything else you can get off scot-free. And in a state that has parking regulations everywhere, if you don't park in a parking lot, it's an important tool that people use.
By the way, people who do not live or have never been to California, sometimes you have to get out of your car, walk up to the sign because it's so small print and be like, every other Tuesday of the third week of,
yes.
It's like...
And between 9 to 11 a.m. and then 10 to 1. You need a magnifying
glass, and it's like 5 signs, and you have to go, okay, I'm compliant with that one and that one. Oh, shit, nope, gotta move it.
Nope. Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
There was one place in Santa Monica that I got a ticket where, I shit you not, there were 5 individual signs. One for street cleaning, one for neighborhood timing restrictions, one for special event parking, so Friday and Saturday nights you could or could not park there around certain times. One for, what was the other one? One for timed weekly parking, and then one for timed weekend parking, which had different hours because it was a few blocks from the beach. So between trying to decipher all of that, which you need a degree just to figure out, I still managed to get a ticket. Because I was there at 9 p.m. and the thing ended at 8 p.m. for some reason. Anyway. But if I had a handicap pass, I could have gotten away with that. I had a boss once who used her mother's handicap pass so that she could park in front of her own work because it was all either red curb or neighborhood restrictions. In Beverly Hills, in one day, they caught over 250 people in a 2-hour period using fake handicap parking passes just in the Triangle area. The officers had to stop because they ran out of tickets to issue. And everyone was like, oh, my mother's in the car. Oh, she's in the doctor's outfit. They're like, well, she's not physically present. You can't use the pass. But we have become a handicap parking pass society. Because if disabilities afford you special protections, everybody wants those disabilities or the appearance of those disabilities so they can have those special protections. And now there's other special parking areas in some shopping centers. So there's handicap parking. There is post-surgical parking, and that's not just at medical facilities. That's for if you couldn't get your handicap pass in time. Post-surgical. Veterans. Any kind of veteran. A young 20-year-old kid, veteran parking. Expectant mother, parking. Electric vehicle / clean air parking, but there isn't even a charging station there. You just get special parking because you drove a Prius. And when I had a big truck, I'd park in every single one of those because fuck them. It was closer to Trader Joe's. So now you have 5 to 6. I think that there's some others in certain areas. Oh, and that's not even considering an open parking lot. It's not parking garages. Hero Employee of the Month. Where I parked at Rogers Gardens. I parked in his spot because fuck him. Or them. We become a society of handicap parking. And it has nothing to do with your ability to get to the store, but everybody wants to be up front.
My mother has a friend who has MS, and she purposely parks like way the fuck far out there because she has a motorized wheelchair. She's like, I can easily get in my wheelchair and get out of the car. I don't need to be up close, and I'm in a wheelchair that rides. Like,
right, I don't need
to take someone else's
but
parking
whereas
spot.
that should be the person who should get the front row spot. I mean, come on, like that's you're not going to find a much more of a disability and being able to drive than something like MS. Like that's genuinely who spots like that are made for, and yet somebody who, has hemorrhoids is parking in that spot and just striding right in.
That's why. When's the asteroid coming? When are the aliens coming?
They're not asteroids. They're hemorrhoids.
He thinks he's funny.
Well, on that note,
have a great day and go fuck yourselves.
Yes.
But just don't get hemorrhoids.
Asteroids.